Hola and bonjour. Welcome back to Creative Cooking. My name is Nicole Braxton and I'm looking forward to being your tour guide as we journey the world one bite at a time. Today we're going to continue with our health segment and we're going to make a health and hearty soup along with cornbread and a potato leek soup. Today's theme is dinner at the fireplace. For our first soup, we will need 2 cups of lentils cooked, 2 cups of water, 3 carrots diced or shredded, 4 tablespoons of oil or water, a half cup of coconut milk, 5 minced garlic cloves, juice from 1 lime or lemon, 3 teaspoons of ground cumin, 28 ounces of diced tomatoes, 4 cups of vegetable broth, 1 cup of collard greens, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon of thyme, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of cayenne, and 1 onion chopped. So let's get started. For our soup, I'm going to start it off and I'm going to have the 2 cups of water boiling. And while that's boiling, I'll prep our veggies. So we're going to cut our onion and dice it. Okay. Take the skin off. And the great thing that I like, since we're speaking of boiling our water, one of the key health principles that I've found is drinking water really helps to do a lot of great things in our body. For example, it can help the flow of toxins to leave the body. It also is really great for promoting a good environment for vascular health. And it can help your body to properly allow blood to flow in your system. So that's why I have my water here. So when I get thirsty, don't mind me. It's really important that we continue to consume the amount of water we need daily. So I'm going to keep chopping my onion. All right. Next, we'll add some carrots. You can make it into 3 slices, or you can buy chopped carrots already prepared at the store. And we'll start with our rocking motion. All right, so we've got our carrots, and now we're going to get our lentils ready. In a separate skillet, you can either saute your onions in the big pot, and if you do it in the big pot, you'll saute it first and then you'll add your water, or you can separate it and do it separately. You can saute it separately in this pot. So I'm going to use a little bit of the olive oil that we talked about before, or water. I highly recommend that too. This is a great thing to saute it in. So actually, you can try something different. This is creative cooking after all, and use water, or you can use the olive oil as written. So we'll put our onions into the skillet. Okay, and then we'll put our carrots. You can hear the water boiling. It's waiting for us. So we have the onions going in there and the carrots, and now we'll just stir them together and let them continuously saute. And this is the critical part of the recipe. Now, are you paying attention? I want to make sure you're paying attention. This is critical. This is the step in this stage where you're going to put in all of your spices so that the oils from it can effectively exude from it and come into your soup. So it's important, this is where you put your spices. You can add it later on, but it's the heat that inspires the different oils from the herbs and spices to come out during this part. So you want to put it at the base when you have your onions. I'm also going to put some garlic in here as well. All right. And if you can hear it, it's starting to saute just as fine with water. Now I'm going to put the different spices. So on the recipe, it says to put cayenne in. Now I want to let you know, if spice is not something, or hot food in regards to the different amount of temperature it is, like if, for example, if you don't like spicy food, I would use less cayenne, so you can just put a little bit in and taste it and go like that. Otherwise, if you like really spicy food or you like a kick to it, you can put the whole amount of cayenne. But I would encourage you to season it as you go to make sure it's not too spicy for you. Then we'll put in our cumin seeds, our cumin powder, some Italian seasoning, thyme actually. Okay, now we'll saute it. And if you start to smell the aroma from the spices, that's how you know it's almost done being sauteed. So when you start, wow, that's amazing. It's a really, really, really good smell. Okay, I wish you were here so you could smell this. But okay, so we've got that going on. Now we're going to put this into our soup. We've seasoned it well. All right, so we're going to add this to our soup. There we go. Next, we'll put the vegetable broth. It's a good base and gives a lot of flavor. We'll also put the lentils in. So the recipe calls for the lentils being cooked. You can do that. And if you have them cooked, you'll put the lentils in towards the middle part of it. So you can put them in raw as well because it's all one pot of soup. All right, so we're letting that cook. All right, then we've got our diced tomatoes. We'll pour this in as well. All right. And one of the last things, you'll let it cook and just continue to allow it to boil. Okay. Wow, that smells really good. I like the citrus that's going to be coming in when we put our lemon. I can sense that that's going to be a good ingredient. But I like the tomato base. And I also like how the cumin mixes with the tomato. So it has a nice contrast in this dish. Next, we will put some coconut milk. This makes the soup creamy. All right. And now we just let it cook down. The more time you leave in it, you allow the soup to extract all the flavors from the different ingredients. So you want the ingredients to combine and for the soup to become one, so you don't want to have everything separated. So it's really good for just allow time for the soup to simmer and for all the flavors to combine effectively. So now we're going to let that cook, and especially if you put raw or uncooked lentils inside of your soup, it's important for you to give it enough time so that they're tender. If you put cooked lentils in, you'll need less time. So just let that continue to cook. And when you're done, the last thing you'll do is you'll put some lemon juice inside, and you can also put some lime zest. So you just let that cook down, and the most important part is you need to get ready to eat. So That brings us along to our next recipe, which is cornbread. For this recipe, you'll need 2 cups of soy milk, a 1/4 cup of oil, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of cornmeal, 2½ tablespoons of baking powder, a 1/4 cup of honey, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of pureed corn. So let's get started on this good old cornbread. Okay, so to start it off, what you can do is take your dry ingredients, the flour, and you can substitute. You can choose your favorite flour that you would like to use and see how it comes out. Okay, so we have that. Then we'll also put in some cornmeal, which to me is amazing because it's a color that I like and it reminds me of the sun, which points me back to one of the great health principles I've learned, which is about getting a lot of exposure to the sun, getting enough sun exposure. It actually can be healthy for us. I didn't really know, after doing much research, I found that having exposure to the sun has the ability to boost the melatonin output in our bodies, which in turn gives us more sleep. And who doesn't like rest? So I think that's a really cool thing that the sun can do. So now I'm gonna mix it. And another great thing I found that research has shown that it can help build your immunity, which is really nice. And also, it can enable your body to produce vitamin D, which is really great to aid the calcium absorption within your body. So it's pretty interesting how the sun can have some really awesome health benefits. All right, so we're mixing all these dry ingredients together, and we're also gonna put some baking powder in there as well. Okay. Just wanna make sure it's thoroughly mixed, because when you put your liquids in, it's just going to begin to clump up. So you want it to be one. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to go to our liquid ingredients. We will add some milk. Some pureed corn, some olive oil, and some honey. All right, now we will just let all these ingredients combine effectively in the blender. I really love Vitamixes because they're effective blenders. I mean, there's so many things that you can put in it. You can put your smoothies. Right now, we're mixing things for our cornbread. I really enjoy just really having effective blenders when you are mixing things. So we're just gonna allow this to combine. All right, looks about done to me. And now we will take our liquid mixture and we'll pour it in. You just want to keep stirring, allowing everything to combine, just like so. Okay, so at this point you can either take a mixer or you can mix with a spoon. You just want to mix the wet and dry ingredients together so they can combine effectively. You can use a whisk, a blender, a spoon, whichever works best for you. Just mix it all together. And this is a good recipe to add to your dinner at the fireplace. So we've made a delicious soup prior to this, and you can accompany it with this cornbread. Just continue to mix everything. Make sure you get everything from the sides, and continuously mix. And if you would like to add more moisture into your cornbread, you can add some soy milk. Just depends on the type of texture you would like. I cannot wait. And if you want, during this phase, you can also taste it before you bake it to make sure it's the consistency that you like. So I'll take a little taste. The flavors are good, so I'm okay with baking that. Now, we'll take it and put it in our baking sheet. Just put it in there. If your pan creates things to stick to it, you can put a little bit of oil or something, or Pam, something to just put it on the side of it. Just essentially you want a non-stick baking pan. Okay. Now you'll just flatten it out. And you want to make sure you put your oven to 350. Got a little on the sides. Okay, so now it's ready to go into the oven and bake on 350 for about 20 to 30 minutes. Make sure you check it. And while it's baking, what you want to do towards the end, you want to put your fork inside of it, or a knife, just to make sure that you don't have any leftover residue when you take your fork out. So that's a good way to check and make sure it's cooked well, it's not too dry, nor is it undercooked. So here's what it looks like, and now we're going to put it in the oven. All right, super excited to try that when it comes out. Now, last but not least, we're gonna go to our final recipe today. It is our potato leek soup. The ingredients include 2 cups of leek slice, 1 cup of celery dice, 1 small bay leaf, 1 tablespoon of water or olive oil, 1 tablespoon of vegan butter, 2 cups of vegetable broth, 1/4 teaspoon of sage, 1/4 teaspoon of fresh rosemary, 1 teaspoon of chicken-style seasoning. So now, to start off our soup, what we'll do is we'll take some vegetable broth and let it boil. Okay. And we'll chop up some celery as well as some leeks. Okay. Now we'll get our leeks in the soup too. And so we put that in there. We'll also put some of our vegan butter. Or if you don't want to use vegan butter, you can just replace it and add more water. As we spoke earlier, water is amazing, so feel free to use it wherever you like. So we'll add our celery inside of our soup. That's awesome. Now we'll add some leeks. And the cool thing about leeks, so I washed the outside of the leek, so now I'm ready to cut. And we'll just roll it up and just slice it. Okay, Now, and we'll make sure we'll go over it again, just make sure everything's sliced well. Okay, so next we'll put it in. But the one thing I'm curious about is to check on this leek. So I washed the outside, everything looks great, put it in there. But I'm kind of curious about the inside because I want to use the whole thing. I don't want to waste something. So let's check and see what the inside is like. Because it looks good on the outside, but it's really interesting because sometimes I found when it comes to different leeks, you see there's dirt in the inside when you get to the core. So going back to our principles we talked about of New Start, sometimes in life we can get bogged down by all the things going on. It's really easy to start feeling, down and out and focus on our circumstances. But the beautiful thing is there's God, and God is there for us whenever we need Him. He can wipe us clean. He can come into the heart. Sometimes as human beings we look so great on the outside, but inside there's other things that we're dealing with. So this leek, this very simple leek, is something that is resemblant of the principle we talked about, which is trust. Trust in the Lord. You can trust in the Lord and give your burdens to Him. He's there for us. So this is a cool principle that I was taught about a leek from my mentor. He really taught us that food is more than food. It can be healing, it can be tasty, and also there's some very key characteristics and principles you can find just from cooking. So I'm going to add this into our soup. All right. Next, we'll put in our chicken style seasoning. We'll put in our sage, some olive oil or water, now we'll just stir it and allow it to simmer, and we're going to put in our potatoes and rosemary next. So with rosemary, you can just take the stalk, put your hands like this, and just peel down. Rosemary is one of my favorite herbs. It has such an amazing smell, and it tastes really good in different foods, such as a soup. I love it on pizza. It's one of my favorite herbs. So I'll just chop it and put it inside of our soup. It gives it that extra flavor element we need. It's really nice when the different spices and herbs blend together so that you can really have this explosion in your mouth of flavor. It's not bland, you want to have flavor. And it's amazing how we've been giving so many natural plants, herbs, and spices to really season our food. We were made with so many different taste buds, and it's important that we, cater to them in a healthy way. So there's no need to have bland plant-based food. You can always season it with fresh herbs and spices. Just going to keep cutting this. Alrighty, so we'll put this inside of our soup. I'm starting to, wow, smells amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay. Now we're going to add some potatoes in there as the broth is going. For your potato, you'll just cut it in half. You can almost use the same principle we used for the onions earlier. And then you'll just dice. So depending on what type of shape you would like for your potatoes, you'll just dice it. And if you find you would like it a little smaller, you can just chop it like so. Now we'll put our potatoes in the soup. Finish it off. And when it comes to different health concerns, right now I'm just using a regular potato, but if you notice that, let's say if you have diabetes or any other health concerns, it is, you could potentially substitute it out with a sweet potato, because sweet potatoes are a complex carbohydrate, which essentially means it breaks down slower into the body. It doesn't spike your sugars as fast, your glucose levels as fast as, you know, when it comes to like white flour, different things like that. So if you would like to use a more complex carbohydrate, I would recommend using a sweet potato. Now we're going to stir our soup and check in on it. Wow. Okay, so the potatoes, like, we just put them in, so they have some time to cook. But I want you to take a look at how beautiful and how green and rich this soup is. It has a lot of different herbs and spices. Lots of fresh products. So if you look and see the soup, you can see the different colors. And just one spoonful of it, you can see that it has all the rich green leeks and celery, and now it has the potatoes, the fresh herbs and spices. All right, that's a really flavorful dish. We're just letting it simmer down, but we had a ball today. Again, as always, it's a pleasure cooking with you. From my kitchen to yours, let's review what we made today. We had our leek soup that we just finished. We also did some delicious cornbread, as well as our hearty holiday soup. These are all great meals that you could eat at a fireplace, bring some friends together, and just spend time together over a great meal. That's a great thing about food. It can bring people together. You can share memories and learn about each other. At the end of the day, I went to school in a small college town, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about it is that there weren't many things around, but we had each other, and therefore we built really strong relationships. So take some time out, have dinner at a fire, and enjoy yourself. At the end of the day, I had a blast with you. Thank you again for tuning in to Creative Cooking, and be sure to tune in next time.